There we go. Okay, so we've talked a lot about those SMART goals. We've talked about them being specific so that you're not setting yourself up for failure. We've talked about them, being measurable so that we can see our progress. We've also talked about them being achievable, again, not setting yourself up for failure. That they're relevant, basically that they're important to you, right? And that they're time bound. So when they're time bound, you're putting a time frame on when you're going to achieve this goal or when you would like to achieve this goal. The reason that you do that is to kind of kick yourself into gear, right? Because if I just have this goal of I want to sell $1 million in travel sales, well, I could have that goal, but like, am I going to do that in 15 years or am I going to try and do it in the next two, like Jody Wariski did, right? So you want to put a time frame on your goals so that you're not just putting them off, right? Not just having them, be 10 or 15 years from now. So those, we've talked a lot about SMART goals. We've also talked about like looking into the future and visualizing what those achieving those goals would look like, what those goals would do for your family, and achieving those goals, what it would do for your family. So today we're going to talk a little bit more on that visualization. Okay. And what that really means, how you can do that, and why it's important. Okay. So visualization, it's a nice long word, is basically like the practice of imagining what you want to achieve, right? If I want to book $1 million in sales, I'm going to practice imagining what that would look like, right? If I were to achieve that. If I want to be a platinum, I can practice imagining what that would look like to be a platinum, right? But it's not just about seeing it in your head. It's also about getting all 5 of your senses into it, right? Excuse me. What would that look like? Could I, like, you get, sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing, right? Create this very realistic moment in your mind of what that would look like when you reach that goal. Okay. And there's 2 different types of visualization. There's outcome visualization. Okay. This is basically like we talked about, envisioning this desired future, right? This achieving this goal. The other one is process visualization. Okay. This is where you actually envision every step that you would take towards that desired goal. Okay. So it's not just about the outcome at that point. It's about what steps do I need to take in order to get to this goal, and visualizing overcoming each of those steps. Okay. So why is it important, right? Like, what does visualization do for us? So there have been studies done that actually talk about the power of visualization in helping you achieve your goals. So what they found was that when you visualize, okay, when you really like engage all the senses, right? You visualize, you do the process visualization of mastering each step. You do the outcome visualization where you can see that success, right? That your brain can't tell the difference in whether that is reality or a thought or a visualization, right? Your brain doesn't have the power to separate the two. So to your brain, it thinks that that really happened. That visualization becomes a real experience, right? Your brain, as powerful as it is and as amazing as it is, cannot tell the difference in those two. So you are literally setting your brain up to think that you've already booked $1 million in sales, that you're already a platinum, that you're already whatever that might be. Okay. Whatever that goal is that you have in your head. Right. So what I want to do real quick, I'm going to show you a little teaser here. Let me click on this. I think I already had it. Yeah, I did.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
So pay attention to the team in white.
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Oh my gosh. How many of you did not see that bear on the first time? Was it just me? Yeah, did not, right? Oh, you did see it. Okay. That's awesome. Didn't, yeah, I was trying to count. Exactly. We were focused on that, right? Focused on counting. That's what I was focused on. I can promise you I did not see that bear that very first time. When they said that at the end, it's like, did you see the moonwalking bear? I'm like, the frick, there was not a moonwalking bear in there. And so then I'm like looking right on the second go around, not paying attention to the passes, and saw him moonwalking across there. And I was like, shut your mouth, right? That is the power of the brain. What we focus on is what we see. Okay. When another example could be, maybe you're thinking about buying a new car, right? And you're like, oh, I never see orange Mustangs. I'm going to go get an orange Mustang so that I can be different, right? I never see those. I'm going to go get an orange Mustang. I can almost guarantee you that once you get it, you're going to start noticing orange Mustangs every time you see them. Like every time that there is one, you're going to notice that. And why is that? Because we have brought that orange Mustang to the forefront of our mind, and it is now something that is stuck in our brain that we focus on. Okay. That can be the same with our goals. Okay. That is the whole part of this visualization, is that we see it so that it becomes part of what we focus on. And when we focus on things, our actions and our behaviors automatically go in that direction. I've told this story a few times now, but I'm going to tell it again for people who weren't on the other ones. I was listening to a speaker one time, Dean Graziosi, and he was talking about going whitewater rafting in Colorado. And he was talking to the guide that runs the boat, right? There's, everybody goes as a group. There's a guide on the back. And he is the one who actually steers the boat from the back. So he was talking to this guy, and the guide was telling him, yeah, there's this one part in the river, and there's, you have to go to the left through this little opening. And he said, over to the right, there's like this massive rock, and there's like a big log and stuff. And he said, I used to tell everybody, hey, you guys see that rock and that log over there on the right? We don't want to go towards that. We want to go this other way. So just, don't go over there. And he told Dean, he said, every time I would say that, every single time we would end up hitting the rock or the log and dumping out. He said every time it was almost like they pointed the boat at it and went directly to it when he said that, right? He said as soon as he changed his wording, everything changed. And he said, instead of telling them where not to go, right? Instead of saying, don't go over here, he said, I just started focusing on where I wanted them to go. And so instead he would say, hey guys, see that opening to the left? That's where we want to go. Like, let's punch through there. And he said, after he started changing his verbiage and saying, let's go this way, he said they never once hit the rock or log again, not one single time. Now, our brain, like I said, as powerful as it is, there are some things that it doesn't differentiate. There are some things that it doesn't quite catch on to. One of those things is when you say, don't do this. Okay. If you have kids, you may know this too, right? I tell my kids all the time, I'm trying to change it, but I have to tell my kids, don't do that. Right. And somehow they end up doing it anyway, because a lot of times kids don't hear the don't, right? Their brain doesn't process that don't do this. It just hears touch the oven, or, throw the ball, or, whatever comes after that don't. So when we tell them don't do this, a lot of times they will do it anyway, because all they hear is to do it, right? Same thing with adult brains. When he was telling them don't go towards the rock, they're just hearing towards the rock, right? Go towards the rock. Also, when our brain focuses on something, we're going to gravitate towards it. So if we're going down the river and someone tells me don't focus on the rock, or don't go towards the rock, I, in my head, would be paying attention to the rock to know where I needed to go. And because of that, my brain would inadvertently steer my body towards that, right? My behaviors, my actions, all of that would steer my body towards that because I'm focusing on it. So that is where this visualization of our goals comes in huge, okay? Like massive. If we can visualize that we've already been successful, our brain is going to change our behaviors and change our actions into making that success become a reality. Okay. It is absolutely like astounding to me, honestly. It blows my mind of like how the brain works and how that can even happen, right? But it is something that it's really huge, right? Like you can totally change the trajectory, I hate that word, of your future and whether or not you're successful. Okay. There are a few different things. I'm trying to find where my list went. Okay. There are a few different practices for this, right? A few different steps in really visualizing and practicing this visualization for your success. So number one is that you write what you want in detail and you engage all 5 of those senses, right? The more senses and sensory images that you include, the more realistic it is. Okay. And the more motivated that can make you to follow through with making that outcome happen. You keep adding details, right? Until it feels like you are literally living it. So if I am sitting here and I'm like, oh, I want to be a platinum. Okay. If I have that goal of being a platinum, well, I can visualize myself like, and just be like, oh, a platinum. Yes, that feels great. Right. Well, that's not very realistic. How about I visualize what it would be like in that moment when I hit platinum? What would it look like for my family to receive that pay? Right? What could we do with that? What would it feel like? What emotion would I have in that moment when I get, I see it in my back office, it's updated and says platinum consultant, right? What emotion? I may cry, right? What emotion would I feel in that moment? Okay. You want to make it as absolutely realistic as you possibly can. And you want to engage those senses so that it really feels like you are living it. Okay. The second one is imagining the emotion attached to it, right? The more you can feel it, the more it feels like you accomplished it already. and the more that you can believe that it can actually be attained. So it doesn't just help you to be like, oh yeah, I can feel what that would feel like. It teaches your brain to say, oh yeah, that's totally achievable. That's totally doable, right? I've already done it, right? It's in your head, but your body doesn't know that. Your brain doesn't know that. I've already done it. So this is totally doable. This is totally achievable, right? The third one is to take action every day towards your desired outcome. You have to accept that there's going to be setbacks. Okay. There just is. There's always, that's just life, right? Life is not a cakewalk for all of us. There's going to be things that maybe set us back or try to stand in our way or, whatever. That setback for me was last month and literally like the whole month. Okay. I hated May. It just felt very hard. I felt like I was like walking through quicksand all month. Okay. On trying to get some traction with team building and mentoring, trying to get traction with bookings and stuff like that. The whole month of May just felt blah, right? I would message Christina a few times and be like, oh God, like this month is like, I just feel like I'm like in the trenches, right? There's going to be setbacks, right? And anytime that I would have those conversations with her, I would also turn around and say, but I've got too big of goals to give up now. I am trying to achieve too much to throw in the towel, right? I'm not going to let this setback, no matter what, take me out of the game, right? I have too big of goals to allow this to defeat me. Okay. So on those setbacks, you can close your eyes, right? You can imagine how you'll deal with certain setbacks as they come and then continue towards your goal. So you can even visualize some setbacks, right? And say, okay, what if I have a month that team building isn't going very well? Because that was my month, right? I could visualize what that would look like. Okay, that would be really hard. I'd be frustrated, right? I might be ready to give up because I'm so mad, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write down my whys, why I'm here, write down my goals, what keeps me going, right? Here's how I'm going to visualize how I'm going to overcome those feelings of frustration and anger or, feeling lost or whatever, right? Whatever those feelings that you would identify, you can visualize overcoming those setbacks so that then when they do come up, your brain already has a plan. And it's like, oh, we've already done this before when you haven't, right? Your brain already has that plan and it already thinks that you've done this before. So it just goes into like maintenance mode of like, okay, we have a plan. Let's put it into place. Here's how we're going to overcome it again. When in reality, it's the first time that you're actually living it in reality, in real life. Number 4 is expand your knowledge. Okay. If more knowledge is required, find it, research, talk to experts, take a class, use that knowledge to further detail your vision. Okay. So that you can add more details into that visualization, into that goal, and the steps that you have to take to get there. If you need to expand your knowledge, we have daily live trainings that you can sit on and get knowledge, right? I mean, you're on a training right now. So we have those daily live trainings where you can jump on and you can say, hey, I'm struggling with this or that. Maybe I'm having a hard time finding clients, or maybe I'm having a hard time with getting bookings, or maybe I'm having a hard time with being a mentor. You can jump on a daily training. You can ask those questions. You can find resources to help you find additional information, right? and you can get the information that you need to expand your knowledge so that you can figure out what steps you need to take in order to achieve your goal, right? When I first started mentoring, I couldn't visualize what platinum would look like because I didn't even know what it meant to be platinum. I didn't know how many people you needed in your organization, right? I didn't know how to even start team building. I had to sit on trainings and say, okay, I don't know how to team build, so I need to figure that out, right? And I had to start small. Okay, so what does platinum even mean? Well, it means 300 in your organization. Okay, so I've got that goal, right? I need 300 in my organization. I can visualize 300 people, right? And I can visualize what that would look like. Let me visualize the steps that it takes to get there. So the first step is executive, which is 3 people. Well, that's pretty easy to visualize, right? I can visualize that. Okay, now let's move up to bronze, which is 6 people, and silver and gold, right? Double gold, Evo 100, 200, right? And then you can get to platinum. So you can visualize these steps that it takes to get to these goals, but you have to have the knowledge of what you even need to know along the way, right? Of what it even means to have that goal. If you're strictly booking, what does it mean to get your first client, right? What do you have to do? Visualize those steps. Well, I have to market. When a client does reach out, I have to qualify them so I don't waste my time on researching for 4 hours to send information to a client who takes my information and books it on their own, right? You have to have the knowledge of what steps do I need to take in order to be successful and get that first booking. When I get that first booking, now I can have a bigger goal that says, okay, now I want to get maybe 5 bookings each month. Okay, so I know how to get a booking. What knowledge do I need to now get at least 5 bookings in a month, right? And 10 bookings. And, eventually you become Jody Wariski, who books $1 million in travel, right? Or Jenny Oxier, who is well over $500,000 at this point in her first year. So you have to have the knowledge. You have to expand your knowledge in order to know where you're going. Number 5 is make time to consider your visualization. So this suggests visualizing the outcome, visualizing your goals at least twice a day. And for a total of like 10 minutes, right? That's not that long, right? Take 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, right? Or 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, whatever you want to do. But the best time to do it, okay, is in the morning when you first wake up. It sets the tone for your day. Okay. When you can visualize in the morning those goals, the outcome, what it means to achieve those goals, that is where it sets up your actions and your behaviors for the whole day. You will be more driven to do income producing activities, or have these steps that you take to be successful. You will have more of a drive and a focus to do that if you will visualize when you first get up. The other time to do it is right before you go to sleep. Okay. This helps to engage your subconscious, okay, not your conscious mind, but the subconscious mind. It helps to engage that in your focused effort towards your goals, okay, towards that desired outcome. So not only are we engaging the conscious mind, but we're also setting up our subconscious to also be helping drive us towards these goals. Okay. And when you can do that, like, you are literally setting up your whole brain and your whole thought process to drive your actions and your behaviors and your steps towards your desired outcome, towards your goals and being successful in those goals. So a couple of things that you can do: close your eyes and imagine the desired outcome, and with all of those related senses and emotions, right? Make sure to engage as many senses as possible. Smell and taste might be a little bit hard, right? When you're talking about goals like this. But try and imagine as many of those senses and engage as many of those senses as you can. Write your desired outcome as if it's true in the present day. Okay. Instead of, I want to be a platinum, right? I am a platinum, right? Present day, you make it as if it's true right now. And you write that like on an index card, or maybe you put it on your mirror. Okay. Maybe you put it on a whiteboard, or, whatever. You write that down and you read it in the morning and you read it at night. Okay. We're setting up ourselves for the day to get going, right? At night, we're reading it to engage our subconscious so that we are focused on that. Create a vision board and have it in your line of sight. Okay. You can see it as you go to bed, right? This is something that I am actually about to work on. I bought little ones, right? These are like poster boards. Yeah, poster boards, but they're little. So they're not like those really massively huge ones, right? And there's like a pack of, I don't know how many are in here. Let's see. 10. There's a pack of 10 in here. But I wanted little ones because I wanted to be able to, there we go. I wanted to be able to put it on my wall right above my computer. Number one, because I sit at this computer quite a bit during the day, right? Sit at this computer so I see it. I can see it right here. Number two is that my bed is right over there, which means I could see it at night as well, right? When you create a vision board, you want to put pictures on it, right, of things that you want to have or things that you want to achieve. Okay. I used to work at a rehab in California, and I was a house manager there. And the owner's daughter and I were talking one time, and she said she was a single mom, of 3. Her ex-husband left her not long after her 3rd child was born. And she was going to school at UCLA to become a nurse, and was a single mom. So she had to work, right? It was crazy, right? Crazy time in life. She said that in order to get out of that, she used to create vision boards all the time. And she said when she would create them, she would do like a step, maybe 2 up from where she was. So let's say she started out and maybe she was driving some beat up old car, right? She wouldn't imagine driving a Lamborghini, right? She wouldn't put a Lamborghini on her vision board. She would put maybe like a nicer car, maybe like a Lexus, right? It's a nice car, but it's not so far out of reach, right? Like it doesn't take a lifetime like a Lamborghini might to get there. So then with her house, maybe she started out in an apartment, and so she would find like a little starter home, right? Maybe a 2-bedroom or maybe 3-bedroom. Find a little starter home, and it was okay, right? Like it was better than being in an apartment, but it wasn't just great, right? And she said she would do that and do like a step or 2 above where she was at. And once she attained those things, then she would change them to a step or 2 from that. So once she got the Lexus, let's say, then she would change it and go a step or 2 above. And maybe she wanted some BMW or, some car that was even more expensive, right? Same thing with the house. If she had the starter home, maybe, then it was, okay, we've got like this mid-size home, right? That it's nice. Maybe it's not my forever home that I want, but like we have room now, right? We have the room to kind of spread out. Everybody has their own space. but there's things that I would still like to do with it. So she would do that. And she said that it literally helped her to be able to focus on just the steps it took to reach those next few things. And she said she became so successful in doing that, that by the time I met her, she pretty much had everything she wanted. She didn't really do vision boards anymore. She still had some goals and stuff, but like she owns her own spa now. She did have a very nice house, like super freaking nice house in LA, and it was not in like some nasty part of town. It was in Bel Air. Okay. She had a nice house in Bel Air. She's recently moved, like, well, I say recently, it's been a couple of years. But she recently moved from LA more south because that is where she bought her spa at. So she moved closer so that it wasn't such a drive. They take trips all the time. Her husband is from France. And so they'll go out and they'll go to France, a couple of times a year. He still has a daughter that lives out there. They have a granddaughter that is there now. And so they'll take these amazing trips. She drives a very nice car. I cannot remember what kind it was now, but I mean, it's like a sports car, right? Very, very nice car. She wears very nice clothes. She's fancy, right? She's like that typical LA type fancy that you would think of. And she said that all of that was because she did these vision boards that helped her to see a better future. And she didn't focus so much on her present circumstances and the negative that was in those present circumstances. She only focused on the positive of what could happen down the road. What could my life look like, right? What could my life be? What kind of goals could I achieve? And if I did achieve them, how would that change my life? So doing a vision board is huge, guys. Absolutely huge. Okay. You can also do guided visualization meditations. You can find someone like YouTube and different things like that. You can use index cards, right? You can kind of like flashcards almost. But you can make a list of like 10 or 20 goals, or, you can start out smaller than that, 5 or 10 goals, right? Write each one on an index card and keep it near your bed. Every morning and every night, you're going to go through that stack of cards, right? One at a time. You're going to read them. Then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to visualize completing it, right? And you're going to do that for all of those goals that are on those cards. Each card, you're going to close your eyes. You're going to visualize what it would look like to complete that goal. You can draw a picture, right? You can draw a picture of what it would look like to achieve your goals. Describe it, right? It's one thing to visualize it in your head. It's another thing to actually draw a picture out and see it with your eyes, right? So you can do that, or it could be kind of like a vision board where maybe you find the house you want and you create this picture, right? You create this picture of what your life could look like if you achieve this goal, and then you look at it and describe it, right? Well, we would have this house, right? And what's in the house? We would have this kind of car. We would have, we would travel to these places, right? And you make it very specific. In doing this, right, it doesn't have to just be like a solo thing. You can expose yourself to other people with the same goal, right? Talk about it. You can also expose yourself to things related to these goals. Okay. So let's say like, this gives an example of like, maybe one of your goals is to go parachuting. Well, if you've never done it before, it's hard to imagine what that would be like, right? So you can expose yourself by watching videos of other people parachuting, right? For our business, if you want to book $1 million in travel sales, then you can talk to Jody, right? You may even watch videos of Jody and how she books travel, right? How she does the things that she does, so that you can get that exposure of what it would look like day to day to put in the effort to build that kind of business, right? To book $1 million in sales. If you want to know what it's like to be a platinum, you would need to expose yourself to people who are platinums, right? Get that exposure therapy, as I like to call it, to know what it would be like, right? To get their feedback. Well, what did you feel? What is it like day to day, right? You can watch when we have convention, if you're going to be there, you can watch people walking up on stage to get their plaques and all of that stuff as a platinum. Watch their face, right? Watch the emotion that comes out of them. Okay. So this is where, this is why I wanted to talk about this, is because I know that we've talked about setting goals, and goal setting is huge, right? It's massive. It's like the first step, right? If we don't know what goals we have, we definitely can't visualize our success, right? We can't visualize, what it would be like to achieve our goals if we don't even have goals. So the first step is always going to be to set those goals. I would say no more than like 3 to 5, because when you get more goals than that, a lot of times, like you're trying to get too many ducks in a row, right? Like you're chasing after too many rabbits and you're not going to catch any of them, basically. So I would say like 3 to 5 goals. Be very specific, right? Follow those SMART goal, the acronym, and make sure that it fits all of those different descriptions. And then start visualizing what it would be like to achieve those goals. Okay. When I started doing the research for this training and everything, I am about to start presenting. Okay. The presentation that everybody sits on when you first, hear about this business and whatnot. I'm training to be one of those presenters, and I am super nervous about it, right? It is not in my comfort zone at all. I have been so dadgum nervous this whole time. Well, whenever I started doing the research for this, it gave me a new idea, right? In my head, I am already playing the tape for everything that could go wrong. What if I forget to say this? What if I screw up some of the facts? What if I say the wrong thing? What if somebody's on there and, they leave because I'm too dry, or because I'm not engaging enough, or, I'm setting myself up for all these things that could go wrong. And so when I started doing this, I realized I need to be visualizing myself being successful in presenting. And when I started thinking about that today, before this training, I sat down and I was going through the training, and obviously nobody was on, but I was talking as if people were there, right? I was presenting as if it was live. And I felt this calm about my body. Whereas before, I was like nervous. I could feel it in my chest and in my shoulders and everything. Like it just felt tight, right? And when I started doing this kind of visualization of like, okay, I can be successful at this, I can be calm, I can be engaging and all of that, it changed how I felt and how I presented. And I seriously felt like a different person, right? I felt like someone who maybe was seasoned at presenting this information instead of a brand new presenter. So I have already seen where this can make a huge difference. And I am actually going to work on visualizing and creating a vision board for the goals that I have, because I want to see what it does for that, right? I need to see how amazing that makes those goals, right? And how quickly I can achieve those. So, does anybody have any questions? And you can unmute or you can type in the chat, either one. Give you guys a minute to see. We had a few more people join. That's good. Okay. Doesn't look like it. All right. Let me